Welcome to Communicating Your Research, hosted by the Office of Undergraduate Research at the University of South Carolina. Let's get started. Why should we share our research with others? How do you benefit? How do the people you're speaking with benefit? And how does the research itself benefit? Having the skills to be able to communicate your research to a wide variety of audiences can open doors for you in your research. By networking with colleagues in your field, you can get another expert perspective, create an opportunity to collaborate, and understand how your research fits into a broader picture. It has been stated that research serves the public interest. Consider how your research impacts those outside of your field. Being able to explain to someone why your research is necessary can expand the reach of your work, as well as open doors for possible funding and awareness. All of this ultimately creates buy-in for your work so that you can continue to ask questions and find answers. So how do we communicate research effectively to different audiences? When we communicate our research in abstracts or journal articles, we focus on the introduction, methods, results, discussion, and conclusion. The introduction and background for projects are meant to provide a foundation. What is the project about? What is the scope? Is this a new idea or is it building upon current literature? The methods lets us share how we approached answering the question and explain our procedures. How did we collect data for the project? Was the approach quantitative, qualitative, or mixed methods? Is the approach new? Results let us share what we find, what data has been collected or observed. And the discussion and conclusion allow us to interpret those results and consider implications for future research. So let's take a moment to practice writing about your research. First, let's consider your audience. Pretend you are planning to speak with a peer or colleague in a similar field and you want to prepare to share your current research efforts with them. For each of the sections we just discussed, write down 1 to 2 sentences. How would you introduce your topic? How would you describe your method and results? And how would you interpret those results for the colleague? Don't have results? Don't worry. Share what you have so far, what you anticipate your results may be. Take a few minutes to draft answers to each of these questions. Go ahead and pause the presentation while you write. When we communicate with peers in our field, we tend to make assumptions about our shared language in the discipline. Maybe we don't stop to explain an acronym, define a term, or provide details as to why we chose a certain methodology. While it's important to know how to talk to fellow researchers, it's also important to be able to communicate your research to somebody outside your field. Have you ever had this moment? You tell somebody that you're a researcher and they say, "That's awesome. Tell me about your research." And then, slowly as you talk, you watch their eyes glaze over, or you see their face contort into confusion. This can happen because the information you provided was too dense, or because the person couldn't connect themselves to the research. When you communicate your research to a broader audience, you have to consider the so what. Why should everyone care about your research? When communicating with a broader audience, it is important to break down the language barrier between you and them. Don't let jargon get in the way of communicating. Provide simple explanations for terms. Tell stories. Give real-life examples. Use a metaphor. Remember to keep connecting it back to the audience and why it should matter to them. Let's look back at what you wrote. Instead of introduction, methods, results, discussion, and conclusion, let's reframe your writing with those tips and hints in mind. This time, ask yourself, what did I do? Why did I do it? How did I do it? What did I find? What does that mean? Where are the areas that you could adapt your answers? Do you see jargon? Is there a real-life example that you could use to explain your research instead? And don't forget the so what. Tell your audience why your research should matter to them. Now this time, let's picture a friend or a family member that is outside of your discipline. Picture trying to explain your research to a kid. Take a few minutes to write down responses to the questions with your new audience in mind. Go ahead and pause the presentation while you write. Looking at your new answers, what is different in how you explained your research? Try it out. Share your new explanation with a friend or a family member. Ask them to explain it back to you. This is a great way to make sure you're connecting your research effectively. Continue to also edit your summary. The more you practice talking about your research to a variety of audiences, the easier it will become. And finally, remember that engaging any audience is about being enthusiastic and showing that you care. Your delivery is just as important as what you're saying. Be confident, excited, and tell everyone why your research matters. Thank you for joining us for Communicating Your Research by the Office of Undergraduate Research at the University of South Carolina. For more information about getting involved in research, visit sc.edu/our.